At 3 a.m., Keanu Reeves noticed a young chef tirelessly chopping vegetables alone in a silent hotel kitchen. When he found out the chef had skipped college to support his family and secretly chase his culinary dream, Keanu quietly paid for his professional training. One random late-night encounter turned into the moment that changed the chef's future forever. The night in the kitchen. I want you to imagine this. It's 3 a.m. in a silent hotel kitchen, and Keanu Reeves is standing in the doorway, watching a kid chop carrots like he's fighting for his future. That night, neither of them knows that a 5-minute conversation is about to change the direction of a young man's life. The hotel was one of those glass towers that never really slept, but the kitchen felt like a different world. The breakfast rush was hours away, the dishwashers were off, and the only sound was the steady, sharp rhythm of a knife hitting a cutting board. Under the fluorescent lights, a young chef in a white jacket, his name tag slightly crooked, Aiden in fading black letters, was surrounded by mountains of vegetables. His eyes were tired but focused, his sleeves rolled up, forearms tense, hands moving so fast that every slice looked almost dangerous. Keanu had come down because he couldn't sleep. The movie he was filming in the city had been heavy, all dark stunts and darker emotions, and his body was bruised from a long day of fight choreography. Instead of room service, he'd asked a sleepy receptionist if the kitchen was still open. The guy had shrugged, pointed down a hallway, and said, "Maybe the night prep cook is still around." So now Keanu stood quietly by the door, leather jacket over a worn black t-shirt, watching this one young chef work like the world was watching. Aiden didn't notice him at first. His headphones were in, but no music played. The cord wasn't even connected to anything. He just wore them because it gave him an excuse not to talk. His phone, cracked at the corner, lay face up on the counter beside the cutting board. A notification banner was frozen on the screen. "Final reminder, scholarship deadline tonight, confirm enrollment." He kept his eyes away from it, focusing instead on the orange blur of carrots and the sting of onions, each slice landing in perfect little cubes. On the shelf above him, tucked between bags of flour and boxes of pasta, a small photo peeked out. His mother in a hospital gown, smiling weakly, and a girl about his age with the same eyes, holding up a peace sign. His fingers tightened on the knife. "Hey," Keanu said finally, his voice soft but cutting through the silence. "That board do something to you, man." The knife stopped midair. Aiden looked up, and for a second his tired brain didn't connect the face with the movies. He just saw a stranger with kind eyes and a faint smile. Then recognition hit and his breath caught. Sorry, sir, I didn't see you there. Kitchen's closed, but I can, maybe get you something? Sandwich? Omelet," he stammered, wiping his hands on his apron, suddenly aware of every stain. Keanu stepped further into the light, glancing at the neat rows of chopped vegetables. "Relax," he said, almost laughing. "You look like you're defusing a bomb, not making breakfast." He nodded at the pile. "You do all this every night?" There was no celebrity distance in his tone, just genuine curiosity. Aiden shrugged, trying to sound casual. "Yeah, well, someone's gotta make tomorrow happen, right?" His eyes flicked to the phone on the counter before he could stop himself. Keanu followed the glance, saw the scholarship notification, then the old photo tucked on the shelf. For a moment, the kitchen felt even quieter. He rested his elbows on the stainless steel table, lowering his voice like they were already in the middle of something important. "You look about college age," he said. "Most kids your age are worrying about exams, not how many peppers they can chop before sunrise. Why aren't you in school right now?" Aiden froze, fingers curling around the handle of the knife, jaw tightening as if that simple question had just sliced deeper than any blade. He swallowed hard, eyes locked on the cutting board, and when he finally answered, his voice came out low and cracked. "Because if I go to college," he whispered, "my little sister doesn't eat." The choice that wasn't a choice. The words hung in the air between them, heavier than the smell of onions and bleach. Keanu didn't answer right away. He just watched the way Aiden's shoulders curved forward, like he'd learned to carry invisible weight so long his body had reshaped itself around it. The kitchen clock ticked over to 3:07 a.m. Somewhere above them, the city kept glowing, people slept, taxis honked. But down here, the world had narrowed to a tired young chef, a pile of vegetables, and one question that sounded simple but wasn't simple at all. "Your sister depends on you that much?" Keanu asked quietly. No movie star tone, no pity in his voice, just a real man wanting to understand. Aiden set the knife down and wiped his palms on his apron, suddenly aware that they were shaking. "It's not just her," he said. "My mom, too. She used to work double shifts at a nursing home. Then she got sick. Chemo, couldn't stand up without help." He nodded toward the small photo on the shelf. "Now it's me. Rent, food, meds, bus passes. Everything. If I stop working, everything stops." Keanu followed the line of his gaze to the phone on the counter. The notification about the scholarship was still there, bright and insistent, like a door being held open by an invisible hand. "You got into college," Keanu said, more statement than question. "Full ride?" Aiden gave a short, humorless laugh. "Yeah, computer engineering, 4 years, books covered, housing covered, all of it. First Reynolds in the family to get something like that. They made a big deal about it at school." Guidance counselor cried, my principal hugged me, the whole thing. His eyes hardened. "But scholarships don't pay my mom's prescriptions. They don't keep the lights on." He picked up the knife again, more for something to hold than because he needed to cut. "I tried to pretend I could do both," he continued. "College by day, work by night, send money home, be a good son, a good brother, a good everything. Then my mom collapsed in the bathroom one morning while I was getting ready for an admissions interview. My sister called me screaming." His voice broke for a second, and he swallowed it down. "I missed the interview because I was in the ER signing forms I didn't understand. After that, every time I looked at the acceptance letter, all I could hear was my sister's voice. 'Aiden, please come home.' So I told myself I didn't have a choice. I told everyone I'd deferred. But that email," he nodded to the screen, "means tonight's the deadline. I either say yes and walk away from them, or I say no, and I don't know what happens to me." Keanu leaned against the counter, arms folded, jaw tight. He knew something about losing people, about how fast a normal life could turn into hospital halls and whispered promises. "You're what, 19? He asked. 20, Aiden replied. "I got older the day my dad left." The words slipped out before he could stop them. He looked almost embarrassed by them, but he didn't take them back. "He just walked out, left a note that said, 'I can't do this anymore.' That was it." "So now I'm the man of the house, right? That's what everyone calls me, the man, but I still Google how to fix a leaking sink. I still burn rice sometimes. I still don't know what I'm doing, I'm just fast with a knife." For the first time, a small, real smile cracked across his face. "My sister thinks I'm some kind of superhero, though," he added more softly. "She's 15, her name's Mia. She leaves dumb, sticky notes on the fridge like, 'Chef Aiden rules,' and draws little cartoons of me in a cape holding a spatula. I pretend to be annoyed, but..." He looked away, blinking hard. "She wants me to go to college. She keeps saying, 'I'll get a job, I'll help, just go.' She doesn't get it. I'm not leaving her alone with hospital calls and overdue bills. I can't do that to her." The phone buzzed suddenly, making both of them jump. Aiden grabbed it, seeing Mia's name flash on the screen with a string of hearts and lightning bolts. He answered in a rush. Hey, I'm at work, you okay?" His voice instantly softened, the way it does when love walks into a room, even if only through a speaker. He tried to sound casual as she chattered on the other end, but Keanu could see his knuckles whitening around the phone. The conversation shifted, Mia's tone dropping, and Aiden's eyes flicked to the clock again. "Wait, what notice?" he asked, shoulders tensing. Silence from the other end, his jaw clenched. "No, don't cry, just text me a picture of it. I'll fix it, I promise. I always fix it, right?" He ended the call and stared at the screen as a photo came through. A crumpled yellow paper taped to their apartment door, bold black letters at the top. Keanu stepped closer, reading over his shoulder. "Final eviction warning. Balance due in 48 hours. Aiden's breath caught in his throat. His scholarship deadline was at midnight. The eviction deadline was 2 days later, 2 clocks ticking in opposite directions, both attached to his heart. He set the phone down like it was made of glass, then looked up at Keanu, eyes shining with a mix of anger, fear, and something like hopeless laughter. "So tell me," he said, voice low and rough, "how is some fancy college supposed to help me with this right now?" The deal in the kitchen. Steam curled up from the dishwashers in the corner, but Aiden felt cold. The eviction notice, the scholarship deadline, his mother's face in that faded photo, all of it cramped inside his chest at once. He hadn't meant to dump his life story on a stranger, much less a famous one, yet here it was, spread across the stainless steel counter like another ingredient waiting to be chopped. Keanu didn't rush in with answers. He just nodded slowly, letting the weight of everything sit for a moment. "You're right," he said finally. "College can't pay your rent tonight. It can't magic your mom out of the hospital. I'm not gonna stand here and pretend it's simple." He paused, then tilted his head slightly. "But I have to ask you something, and you can't give me the answer you think you're supposed to give. Deal?" Aiden managed a tiny shrug. "Sure, why not? Tonight's already weird." Keanu pointed at the knife still in Aiden's hand. "If money wasn't a problem, if your mom was healthy and your sister didn't need you to be the grown-up, what would you be doing at 3 in the morning?" Aiden almost answered automatically. "College. Engineering. Something stable," but the words stuck. He looked at the cutting board, at the perfect orange cubes of carrot, at the pans hanging above them. Somewhere behind his ribs, another version of himself stirred, the one he'd buried under double shifts and hospital receipts. "I'd be here," he admitted quietly. "In a kitchen, maybe not this one, maybe one that actually has a window and decent music." A shy smile tugged at his mouth. "I like the noise, you know, the sizzle, the shouting, the tickets flying in. I like making something real with my hands that someone enjoys in 10 minutes, even if I spent hours on it. I had the grades for engineering, so everyone pushed me that way. But when I close my eyes," he hesitated, then went all in. "When I close my eyes, I see my own place, a small restaurant, open late. My sister's drawings on the walls, her designs on the menu. My mom sitting at the corner table complaining the portions are too small even though she's full." His voice grew steadier, brighter. "I see people coming in tired and leaving lighter. That's what I want. I just don't see how I get there from here." Keanu's smile was soft but sharp. "Okay," he said. "So the real dream isn't a degree, it's a kitchen with your name on the door." He glanced around at the empty room. "Then show me something. Cook like you would in that restaurant." Before Aiden could protest about rules and managers and health codes, Keanu held up both hands. "I'll take the blame if anyone asks. Worst case, I say I kidnapped you for a midnight snack." There was mischief in his eyes now, a boyish spark that cut through the heaviness. Aiden hesitated, then something reckless clicked. "All right," he said, rolling his shoulders back. "But you touch anything, I'm taking that as a stunt and charging extra." Keanu chuckled. "You do your job, I'll stick to mine and try not to burn water." In seconds, the mood in the kitchen changed. Aiden moved like someone had switched on a different part of his brain. He grabbed garlic, onions, leftover grilled chicken, a handful of herbs, cold rice from a container, eggs from the walk-in. The hiss of oil hitting the pan sounded almost like applause. Flames jumped as he tilted the wok, tossing ingredients in quick, practiced motions. Garlic bloomed, onions caramelized, soy sauce smoked up in a dark, fragrant cloud. His knife became an extension of his hand, slicing scallions in a green blur. Keanu watched, genuinely mesmerized, as the quiet, stressed prep cook transformed into a commanding presence at the stove. For a moment there was fun in it. Aiden barked mock orders at an invisible line cook, cursing at an imaginary ticket machine. "Table 6 wants extra spice," he called over the roar of the fan. Keanu played along, grabbing a clean plate like a nervous new hire. "Yes, chef, I'm trying, chef. Please don't throw pans at me, chef." He fumbled when Aiden tried to hand him a garnish, almost dropping it, and they both laughed, real, surprised laughter that loosened the knots in Aiden's shoulders. When the dish was done, Aiden slid it onto the plate with a little flourish he didn't even know he had. The rice glistened, dotted with bright vegetables and sliced chicken, steam rising in a tempting cloud. He wiped the rim, set it in front of Keanu, and took a step back, suddenly self-conscious. "It's just fried rice," he muttered. "Nothing fancy." Keanu picked up a fork, took a bite, and went quiet. He closed his eyes, really tasting it, giving the dish a respect most people reserve for expensive wine. When he opened them again, something had shifted. "This is just anything," he said. "This tastes like someone who cares, like a guy who's been paying attention. You did this from scraps at 3 in the morning. Imagine what you'd do with a full team and a real shot." Before Aiden could answer, a harsh voice slashed through the air. "What the hell is going on in my kitchen?" They both turned. The head chef, Tors, a broad-shouldered man with tired eyes and a temper everyone feared, stood in the doorway with his arms crossed. His jacket was half-buttoned, hair still damp from a rushed shower, but his expression was razor-sharp. His gaze swept the scene. Unauthorized stove use, pans out, a random hotel guest at the counter, and Aiden standing there like a guilty teenager caught throwing a party. Tors stalked in, the soles of his shoes thudding against the tile. "Reynolds," he snapped. You're on prep, not show-off duty, and you—" He jerked his chin at Keanu, not recognizing him in the low light and without the polished movie lighting. "This is not a buffet. Guests are not allowed back here. You know the rules." Aiden's stomach dropped. "Chef, he started, but Tors cut him off, grabbing the leftover rice pan and slamming it into the sink. "I've had enough of your distractions and side projects," Tors growled. "One screw-up with food safety, one complaint, and it's my name on the line. You want to play around? Do it somewhere else." He reached for Aiden's jacket, fingers already hooked in the lapel. "You're done here. Hand over your coat." For a heartbeat, the entire kitchen froze. Aiden's only income, his mother's medicine, his sister's food, their last fragile protection from that bright yellow eviction notice, all of it balanced on the edge of Tor's outstretched hand. Keanu straightened up from the counter, the easy smile gone, his eyes suddenly very, very clear. "Chef," he said calmly, stepping between them, "before you fire the guy who just cooked me the best thing I've eaten all week, maybe you should hear what really happened." Favors and a dangerous offer. Tor's hand hovered in the air, still clutching a fistful of white fabric. He narrowed his eyes at the man who just stepped between him and his employee. "I don't care what he cooked you," he snapped. "Hotel policy is clear. No unauthorized guests in the kitchen. No working the line off schedule. If I let this slide, I lose control. That's how accidents happen." Under the harsh fluorescent lights, Keanu finally became unmistakable. The jawline, the hair, the stance, Tor's scowl faltered as recognition punched its way through his anger. His grip on Aiden's jacket loosened just a fraction. "Wait," he muttered, blinking. You're that actor." He struggled for the name, then almost rolled his eyes at himself. "Of course you are." The kitchen door swung open again, and this time the hotel's night manager, a thin man in a perfectly straight tie, rushed in, cheeks flushing as he took in the scene. "Mr. Reeves," he blurted, doing that nervous half-bow people do when they realize a VIP is standing in the dish pit. "We weren't informed you'd be visiting the kitchen. If you needed anything, sir, room service would have." "I asked him to cook," Keanu cut in gently, nodding toward Aiden. "I couldn't sleep, came down looking for food. He was working his tail off, and honestly, he saved me from raiding your vending machines." His voice stayed calm but firm. "If you're going to be mad at someone, be mad at me. I insisted he fire up the stove." Tors glanced at the manager, then back at Keanu. Pride warred with caution on his face. "With all due respect, sir," he said slowly, "you're not the one on payroll. He is. I've got a brigade to run. He knows the rules. This isn't his first warning." Aiden's heart sank. It was true. He'd been late twice after hospital visits, and once he'd swapped shifts without clearing it. The manager shifted into damage control mode. "Chef Tors, maybe we can handle this internally," he said quickly. "Mr. Reeves is filming in town. We want him to feel welcome. Any misunderstandings can be sorted out without terminations." His polite smile flickered anxiously toward Keanu. "Is there anything we can do to make this right, sir?" Keanu looked at Aiden, not at the manager. "How long has he been working here?" he asked. Tors answered automatically. 6 months, night prep, he's fast, I'll give him that." There was a reluctant respect buried in his tone, like he'd been waiting for an excuse to admit it. "Fast," Keanu repeated, "and good. He took scraps from your fridge and turned them into something I'd pay for in a second." He leaned on the counter, lowering his voice in a way that felt more like a conversation than a negotiation. "I'm shooting in this city for another 3 weeks. I've got a cast and crew of about 20 who are sick of bland catering. I was going to ask your hotel to host a private late-night dinner for them one of these nights, something special." "Something that feels like this." He nodded at the empty plate, "not like microwaved chicken." The manager straightened, smoothing his tie. "We would be honored to host your crew, Mr. Reeves," he said at once. "Our culinary team can craft a—" "I want him on that dinner," Keanu interrupted, jerking his thumb toward Aiden. "Let your team support, sure, but he leads the menu for one course. If he messes it up, you can blame me for distracting your staff tonight. If he nails it, maybe you rethink how easily you let go of people who care." Aiden stared at him, stunned. "Wait, no, he stammered. "I'm just prep, I've never—" Tors held up a hand, silencing both of them. He looked at Aiden for a long, assessing moment, then at the wiped clean plate, then back at Keanu. The kitchen hummed lightly with the sound of refrigeration units and distant clattering from the empty dining room. "You're asking me to let a night prep cook lead a course for a VIP dinner," Torres said slowly. On short notice. No menu planning meetings, no tasting in advance, just because you liked one plate of fried rice. Yes, Keanu said simply, that's what I'm asking. The manager's eyes gleamed with opportunity. Think of the publicity, chef, he urged. Exclusive dinner for a film crew, collaboration with a rising local talent. We could even mention it quietly to the press later. It's good for the hotel. And if Mr. Reeves is pleased, that's good for your department too. Torres rubbed the bridge of his nose, clearly annoyed at being cornered. But when he spoke again, his voice had lost some of its edge. Fine, he said at last. He turned to Aiden. You want to keep this job, Reynolds? You earn it. Tomorrow night after service, we run a test. You design one dish, something you can execute under pressure. If it's garbage, you go back to chopping and I forget this conversation. If you crash and burn in front of his fancy friends, I'm not saving you. Understood. Pressure knotted in Aiden's gut. Designing a dish, testing it, and then serving it to a room full of strangers who worked with one of the most recognizable faces on the planet. Terrifying. On any other day, it might have felt like a dream. Tonight, it felt like someone handing him a knife and asking him to juggle. He swallowed hard. And if it's not garbage, he asked quietly. Torres almost smiled, a quick, sharp thing. Then we talk about moving you off night prep, he said. Maybe line cook, maybe more, no promises, just a door that wasn't open before. He stepped closer, dropping his voice so only Aiden could hear. But if you freeze, if you flake, if you disappear on me, that door slams shut, for good. Keanu caught Aiden's eye, giving a small nod. Not a push, just a silent, I think you can do this. The manager clapped his hands once like a deal had been signed. Excellent, he said. Mr. Reeves will coordinate with your team about the date. Chef, you and I will discuss logistics. As quickly as they had flooded the room, the manager and Torres drifted back toward the door, their voices fading into managerial murmurs about budgets and schedules. The kitchen fell quiet again, except for the hum of the fridge and the faint ring in Aiden's ears. He leaned on the counter, trying to steady his breathing. What just happened? He muttered. 1 minute I'm fired, the next I'm supposed to cook for movie people like I know what I'm doing. His hands shook as he reached for a towel, more out of habit than need. That's how fast things change sometimes, Keanu said. Someone sees what you can do, and suddenly the map in your head isn't the only one anymore. He rested his elbows on the counter. You didn't have to say yes, you know. Aiden let out a disbelieving laugh. And go back to just chopping and praying the rent gets paid. This might be the only open door I ever see. He lifted his phone, the eviction notice photo still glowing on the screen. But this doesn't go away. Even if I crush that dinner, I still owe money in 48 hours. And if I fail, his voice cracked. If I fail, I lose the job I'm already barely hanging on to, and I still have to tell my sister I'm not going to college. As if summoned by his thoughts, the phone buzzed again. This time it was Mia's bubbly contact photo, but an unknown hospital number lighting up the display. The room seemed to tilt around him. He stared at the screen, feeling his throat go dry. Keanu saw the color drain from his face. You gonna answer that? He asked quietly. Aiden swallowed, thumb hovering over the accept button, every possible disaster already screaming in his head. His mom's condition, new bills, worse news. The walk, the job, the scholarship, the eviction, the sudden chance of a future in a kitchen. All of it blurred into a single, dizzying question. He pressed accept and lifted the phone to his ear. Hello, he whispered. The voice on the other end said his name, then added 7 words that made his knees buckle and the stainless steel counter his only support. We need to talk about your mother's surgery.